This is The Big Conversation on The Breakfast Show here on KBC English Service.
So we are joined by the Sales and Remuneration Commissioner to discuss 6 years of some very impactful work. Mr. John Kennedy Monyoncho, MBS. How are you doing? Thank you for making time for coming to the Breakfast Club.
Thank you, Nick. You're lucky you got me today. It's my last day in the office.
It's your last. Today is the final day.
I'm only here because of you.
What? We are very honored. We're very honored.
I would not have come. I was closing my papers, files, and I'm saying, well, KBC, we've been starting to be here since Friday, right? Yeah, so we're here today.
So, wow, for the last 6 years, you've been up at, I want to guess, 5 a.m., get to the office like at 6:30.
No, it's not that early riser.
Okay.
By the time you reach the office of a commissioner, you are not exactly in the operatives. You're not in operation. You are in the decision making.
All right.
So you have longer days. You have much longer days, and a lot of reading to do, a lot of decision making to go through. So we have committee meetings, which are. The reports are brought in by the technical teams.
Okay.
Once they bring in the reports, we look as a committee. I was chairing the wage bill committee, which was handling productivity and performance, was handling collective bargaining, negotiations, was handling research. So this, they would bring, we discuss, then we now take it to the commission for adoption and recommendation made or adjustment. So that would happen on Monday for me.
Okay.
Tuesday, Wednesday were full days. 9 to 4, 9 to 5. Now looking at all the reports. And you see that we have more than, that was only where I was chairing. We had corporate committee. We had a committee dealing with allowances alone and benefits alone. And they had their own dealing with allowances, everybody applying for allowances in public service. This guy wants this allowance. This. So the question is, do we give? Don't we give? If we don't give, why don't we? And if we give, why?
Why? You have to give the reason.
So we must give. Now, there's another department called Job Evaluation and Salary Structure. There are new state corporations being established. There are others that have been there. The salaries have never changed. The structures don't really adhere to what's going on. So that department was busy looking at the salary structures and job evaluation. And job evaluation is one of the equity strategy we are using to ensure that the salaries are actually paid, harmonized across the different institutions.
Wow.
So apart from that, then we had stakeholder committee that would also meet. Now, so on Tuesday and Wednesday, all these committees would bring their reports. Oh, there's one more. Legal committee.
You can't forget about the legal team.
Forget legal and half of our life was literally in court.
Oh, yeah, right.
So we have the legal committee that is also following up everything concerning the commission, all the court cases. Can you imagine, Nicola, in our stay there, we had over 100 court cases.
That is a lot of court appearances.
6 years. 100 court cases. It's actually 118, exactly.
Wow.
118 court cases.
Wow.
So which means there was a lot of work that they were doing out there. So Tuesdays and Wednesdays, we would now discuss 9 to 5 in the commission meeting.
Yeah.
Now, Thursdays, other committees would meet.
Okay.
Because on Monday, there are only 2 committees. That was the wage bill, my committee, and the legal. And then on Thursday, we'd have the job evaluation, allowances committee, stakeholder committee. So that is the life we had for the last, I can say 5.5, because the half when we came, we had to clear the backlog that was left by the previous commission, because they reported 8 months later. You can imagine. So that was just a bit of what we did for the last 6 years.
And we're going to delve more into this. Let's start first with this. I'm trying to understand this title. MCIARB.
That is a member of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I'm a member of arbitration. We have a Chartered Institute of Arbitration in Kenya. So I'm a member.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. Now that we have, did you work weekends as well?
No.
Weekends.
We didn't work weekends. We didn't work weekends.
Fantastic.
You see, at that level, you can't work on. We are not an operational, unless, of course, there is there's a moment when we were handling the conference, the wage bill conference.
Okay. Yeah.
That one we worked worked weekends and weekdays. We were there at 9 p.m. just to make sure the conference went well.
Yeah.
That we did. And even prior to that, in terms of working with the papers, on the technical papers, meeting different committees, just to be able to ensure that everything went well, yes, that we did. But it was not a normal. Not a norm.
Okay, good. Yeah. Everyone needs rest. Do Monday to Friday.
Yes.
The rest of the weekend. So now, John, as you're preparing to exit,
yes.
6 years of service,
yes.
how would you describe the overall experience working at the SRC?
For me, it's epic.
Epic. Wow.
I have enjoyed every moment working at the commission. Why? Because first, as an economist, I love the job.
Okay.
Because there was a lot of statistics required, a lot of numbers, and as an economist contributing towards the commission, that for me was it was an epic for me, because I've been in service basically in statistics and economics all my life long in the Ministry of Planning. So by the time I moved into the commission, that was 2013, because I moved in as a staff in 2013. Then 2018, I moved into as a commissioner.
Rose up the ranks in just 5 years.
It's not ranks, it's God's call, man.
It's God's call.
It's not easy to just transition. It's just the Lord who did that.
Indeed.
So therefore, in terms of that contribution to the technical requirement, interpretation of data, interrogating information, using that information to make decisions that was affecting the whole country, and the whole nation.
By the way,
that was epic for me, and epic in the sense, this is like the end game for my career path. Not end of my career, but end game of the path that I'm working within public service.
Okay.
You understand?
All right.
So that is one. That is the second. The third was because I worked with a very, can I call it a fantastic team? A team that was full of integrity, was passionate, was desirous to do the right thing. None of them had any conflict of interest.
Nice.
Everybody was saying we must do what is right for this nation. And they lived up to that statement. Those three things alone, my friend, made my stay there enjoyable.
Made it enjoyable.
Yes, very enjoyable.
My dad actually also did economics.
Oh, he did.
And always all these books, World Bank. So it's like, I am not good with numbers.
Yes.
Let's just say that.
Yes.
So okay, I applaud that. That's great. And this was the end goal for your career in public service.
In public service. You see, I can come back in the commission. As a commissioner, or I can come back as a chair of a board. I can come back because age is no longer a limit. But in terms of if you're to say you're following the career path for public service, it ends at 60.
Yes.
So after 60, you can not be in the public sector, rather in the state corporations, or even if you're going to be employed in civil service, that time has ended. But does not say that you will not continue serving at any other capacity in the public service. I mean, the president can just call you and say, no, I want you to come and do this. And it's still part of public service. You cannot run away from that.
You cannot.
Yes.
Now, there's we're told this all the time when we're talking about careers. You get into a certain job, you must have goals. Like this is what I hope to achieve. So when you were entering to the SRC, the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, you had certain goals. What were some of those goals, and what they all achieved? Because you had a really good team, they must have helped you.
The goals in terms of the 6 years that we got on board. One of the things that directed us in achieving what we intended to was we had to do a strategic plan. And within the strategic plan is where we have our vision, which we wanted. Our real vision was a productive public service that fairly remunerated. Now, we thought that took a bit of time discussing it as a team, because we're asking ourselves, what do we really want in the larger public service? And that's why we came up with that vision, that it is a productive public service that is fairly remunerated. That's the vision, and then we hope that can also be carried forward. Within the strategic plan, of course, we had key indicators. We had what we call KPIs, key performance indicators, that we had. Some of those were the wage bill, under the wage bill. We had key indicators under allowances and benefits. We had key indicators in every area. As we speak today, the big one, the take home you can say, because SRC was here, this happened, was when you look at the wage bill ratio. The wage bill ratio, when we came into office, was around 51%. Now, what is wage bill ratio? Wage bill ratio is a ratio of the salaries that are being paid to civil servants or public servants as a percentage of what we collect, domestic collections. What are we collecting? The money we have. So out of the money we have, if we collect $1 billion, then 500 million goes to pay.
Okay.
But for us, so it was 51%. It came down to around 49, but when COVID came back, it went back again to 51, because during COVID, it was not possible. There was no activity. So if there's no activity, you can't collect.
You can't collect.
And you're still paying.
And you still have to pay.
Remember, the civil servants were paid. None of them were fired. None of them went home.
COVID was quite... it put you on your toes.
It was a different thing. But then, since then, we can comfortably say that the ratio has now come down to around 46.7.
Okay, all right.
And we do expect that by the time we hit 2028, we should be around 35%, which is basically the law. The law demands that our wage bill to revenue ratio cannot go beyond 35%. So that's the big thing, the big takeaway, the big ticket that we're able to achieve. We're able to achieve establishing what we call a level of fairness in terms of remuneration, because we established what we call job evaluation tool, which helped us to determine the job grades across the public service. Now, in public service, there are about 60,000 jobs. About 50 to 60,000 jobs. Of course, employees are about 980,000 employees, but jobs, a driver is a job. So you can have 10 drivers here, 50 drivers next door, but the job is one a driver.
Okay.
We were able to evaluate around 48,000 public service jobs, which means we were able to determine these jobs should be paid how much. You understand?
Yeah.
And of course, so that was completed, and we also established our own job evaluation system. The previous commissions were borrowing or were using licenses to use other people's systems. But this time, the commission has its own system. So we can evaluate the jobs.
Excellent.
Once you send us the job descriptions, we evaluate them, give them grades, and then send them back to you. That was done, and it was a dream and a goal from the previous commission. We need to have our own system. Number 3, one of the principles of wage determination is to ensure that there is what we call recognition of performance. So recognize and reward performance and productivity.
Okay. Now, let's talk about this.
Now, you can imagine it's there in the Constitution. The first commission has come in 2013, 2018, but there was a struggle to understand how do we recognize performance and productivity, because it wasn't even there.
It wasn't there. And then we're asking ourselves, it's not the role of the commission to develop tools for recognize. Our business is to recognize. Somebody else has to produce the measures. How do you measure productivity? But this year and during this period, I'm very happy to let you know that together with the National Productivity and Competitiveness Center, we were able to establish a framework that then is able to ensure that each institution in Kenya can actually develop what you call productivity indices, so that we are able to know by the adjustment or the changes in the productivity indices, we can determine the efficiency of each institution in this country. That is in place. It was launched last year by Head of Public Service, and right now we have over 24 state corporations that have piloted, and 2 counties. So they are, as we get the results, we intend that this now can be implemented moving forward by any other by the other commissioners once they come on board. So those are the top 3, and we are very happy that we have actually been able to achieve those. Those I call them innovations that were never there before. I just remember another one, very important. What we call in this country, the trade unions are very vocal. Yeah, they are.
But before the commission came on board, the negotiations used to take place between either 1 year or 2 years. 1 year, 2 years.
Wow.
And therefore you find some institutions are negotiating collective bargaining which are like 5-6 years ago.
Right.
Because they've never completed that one. And you see the law does not, the law says that if there is no new collective bargaining agreement, the one that was there stays.
It stays.
So you have to finish that 1 year, come another 1 year, go another 1 year. So what we did, we said no, we generated guidelines that are able to allow for a bit of efficiency in ensuring that the negotiations take place and they end in good time. Though we've not succeeded in ensuring they end in good time, because now it depends on the employer and the trade union.
Right.
But we did guidelines that actually help now both the employer and the trade unions to start negotiations early. As we speak, all negotiations actually take place once every 4 years now. So you begin and you have the process, you have at least 4 years.
You have 4 years.
You have 4 years, but not to negotiate. It's 4 years of the length of the CBA. You understand? You should negotiate the first year and finish so that you don't negotiate again for 4 years. After 4 years or on the fourth year, you begin to negotiate for the next 4 years of the CBA. So that is another achievement which we are very proud of. That actually has happened during our stay in the commission for the last 6 years.
Oh, you must be very proud of that one. That's a really good one.
Yes.
Now, I would want us to jump into challenges, and the first one I want to start off with, because I had to do the math while you were talking. You said 118 court cases
yes,
over 6 years. That is 19.6 a year.
Every year.
Hey,
Average.
How often? Okay, the genesis of a lot of these cases, was it the same thing? Was it the same issue?
First of all, Nick, is when we talk about remuneration, it is very sensitive. Anything dealing with people's money is very sensitive. That is one of those, because every time you touch a pack or you touch a pay, and the commission does not deal with reducing pay. We don't reduce pay. You can't reduce. It's not what we call it. Natural justice doesn't allow you to reduce anybody's pay. So there is no time that we reduce our pay, other than if we are paid you and then you are taxed. You know, there are those who said now our pay has reduced because you taxed us. Before we were not paying tax, now we pay. But that's not reduction in pay.
Yeah.
No, that's not reduction in pay. So the majority of these cases are mainly because institutions did not feel that the commission had the mandate to touch on those issues. So there was a lot of, what do you call it, interrogation of the mandate of the commission. So if you don't understand the mandate of the commission, for example, if we say, for example, say that we are going to review certain allowances.
Yeah.
Somebody will say, no, that's not the mandate of the commission. Why? Because before the commission was established, there were other employing agencies who were determining the allowances for their employees in that institution.
Right.
Okay. If you look at, for example, the large employees, TSC, you look at JSC, PALSCOM, and so forth, they have their own. They're the employer, and therefore they had that ability or the right to develop allowances for their people. Now, when SRC comes on board, they say, no, your business is to determine only remuneration. And benefits. Forget about allowances. We say, no, our role includes, we have to look at any money that is being spent out of the public coffer.
There you go.
They said, no. Now, those were the reasons why we had a majority of those cases. So we'll be taken to court. We were told, no, you cannot do this. Sometimes we were stopping. I mean, there was a time we were taken to court because an institution had paid their staff house allowance. And we told them, you can't pay yourself house allowance without the authority of the commission, because that is our mandate. Right. If you did that, then everybody else will do so.
Yeah.
Oh, they went to court. We went to court and we won. They had to return all that money. Now you can imagine, those are the kind of cases that we had. It was mainly because of not exactly appreciating what the commission
what the
does.
commission's
We are hoping that maybe in the new term, that would be a priority. Nick, we've been working on what to call the SRC regulations that are at an advanced stage. The regulations actually, to a great extent, attempt to explain how we carry out what we do and why we do it.
The why is important.
So that somebody, when somebody, instead of going to the Constitution, you can go to the regulations and say, so this is what job evaluation means, and this is how it's done. This is what productivity means, this is how it's done. This is what remuneration means, and this is how it is done. So that before you take us, or before you take the commission to court, at least you'll have had sufficient background so that you know what it is that you must talk about and what it is that you don't have to talk about. Yes.
So aside from the court cases, what's like the biggest challenge that you would say you faced in your 6 years in office?
I was going to mention, of course, litigation. That was our biggest. Litigation is biggest. It really took a lot of our time. Secondly, was resources have never been sufficient, so I can't even go there. Literally, everybody has
everyone will always say
resource constraint.
Yep.
But I'm proud that even with the little resources, we were able to ensure that all our objectives were met. With the little resources, even the conferences that we had, we didn't have money, but we were able to get friends who were able to support us within the public service, who just gave us some money, and we were able to
just have to talk to them.
That is how to run.
Exactly.
But, so resources, of course, in the that's a thing that is across board. But we were glad that we were able to do what we needed to do. Of course, the other bigger challenge, which is because of what the litigation is the fact that not many people really got to understand who we are or understood who we are, and therefore back to the litigation. But also you see, part of the challenge is when you don't understand what we do, you continue persisting in asking for the wrong thing.
Right.
All right? So you find institutions. For example, we had our what do you call it? The assemblies who wanted also to have what we call car grant. Just because the members of parliament had a car grant, they also wanted a car grant.
They also wanted.
But we told them, we have no money, but if you can show us where the money is, we can be able to do that for you. Because we cannot give any remuneration review or benefit if there is no money, because we must establish affordability and we must establish sustainability. So if there is nothing of that sort, it's very difficult. So people would rather just write and ask, even if they know it's wrong. They would write and ask, and we ask ourselves, surely, why are this be wasting our time? We have so many other things to do. Why do you need to write? When you call, they say, no, we just wanted to have a communication from the commission saying at least you have rejected or you have accepted.
Yeah.
All right? So people communicating and asking things that really they don't know, or they just want for the sake of ensuring that it's on paper. Because what we some of the times we're learning is that I know the institutions, the employees want so many other things, but the CEO is unable to give them, and therefore he has to find a way of telling them, look here, SRC has said. So as we sit here, SRC has a very powerful name. When SRC has said, that's the end of it. There's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it. But apart from that, I think there are not many other challenges. I can't talk about any interference, because people may think that there was a lot of interference from the executive. There was no interference, absolutely. Parliament, no interference, absolutely. Nobody interfered with the operations.
Especially since you went through two different governments from 2018 to now.
To now, you see, the offices are constitutionally protected. However, that does not guarantee that there may be no pressure, because there can still be pressure from the different arms of government.
Yes.
And if there's pressure, you may have to sit down and agree with one another. So now, what can we agree to bow or not to bow? We said no. Our mandate remains. We must do what is right. It could be a difficult decision to make, but we must do what is right. And that's what we did for the 6 years. Without batting an eyelid, it didn't matter what whoever thinks. Stakeholder contribution and what we call participation is allowed.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody could say what they want, and of course, our head of state, he can also say what he feels he needs to say, because that is his right. Anybody else could say, but then the final decision and the buck stopped with the commission.
The commission.
Yes.
Lovely. and like you mentioned, John, earlier, when you talk about, when you touch on people's money, it's very, very sensitive.
Very sensitive.
It generates a lot of public debate. So I'm curious as to, because a lot of people might not know exactly what the SRC's mandate is.
Yes.
So now, how have you been trying to communicate to your policies to the public sector workforce as well as the general public so that they are aware? Because at least I'll give you this. I remember SRC used to make the news a lot, 2010s, 2012, but in the last couple of years, not so often.
Yes.
Which is a good thing,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Yeah. So how have you been? What steps have you been taking to communicate your mandates to the general public as well as a public sector workforce?
What has happened is that we have joined force with the employing institutions. The employing institutions are the ones who own the employees.
Yes.
And they're the ones who are going to be affected. So one of the things that, we've done a number of things. One of those is, first of all, having top-notch engagement with them so that they understand our role and what we do, so that in that engagement, in that discussion, they are able to raise issues that they feel could be contra to what they do, and therefore we're able to correct it. Okay. Secondly, we've continually had engagement with there's something what we call monitoring and evaluation, which we regularly do. What does that mean? It means we visit institutions, we visit which include county governments, and we meet with the members of the county government, including the governors themselves, including the technical staff. And what we do is to share with them what is the mandate of the commission, how we carry it out, the advice that we have sent. We continue engage and ask them, have you understood? Is the advice clear? If it's not clear, we are able to do a bit of training, we're able to explain, so that by the time we leave those institutions, they know what the role and the mandate is.
Right.
Beyond that, we've also been using the media. We've done a lot of media breakfasts. We've done a lot, of course, I know media, you are very powerful in terms of communicating what we do.
This is true.
So we've had regularly, in the last 6 years, every time we have something to launch, maybe a policy on allowances or a public policy on remuneration policy or regulations, we have had breakfast and we've had intense engagements with the media and other CBOs and NGOs just to help them understand who we are and what we do, so that they can also be like our ambassadors as they go out there to talk about what the commission does. And then, of course, we've had online trainings since COVID. We're grateful that because of COVID, technology has improved.
Technology went up real fast.
Yes, went up so fast. We've had several and so many trainings for CEOs, for board chairs, board members, directors, for county assembly service board, all those members. We've had trainings, and every time we engage, we are able to raise the issue that this is what we do. And of course, when they feel that it's not clear, we are able to explain, which then helps them to understand actually the role of what the commission does.
Yeah.
We've also established with the Kenya School of Government a joint course. This joint course is basically to train staff of those institutions on how to undertake a job evaluation. Right, that is one. We've also done another course on collective bargaining negotiations, so that even as they go for those trainings, the technical staff who go for those trainings, then they are educated and they are able to know what we do, and therefore address themselves to exactly that.
Exactly. Vile inafaa.
Yeah.
Mr. John Kennedy Monyoncho. Out of curiosity, John Kennedy, did the name come about because of that Kennedy over?
Yes. My dad was very political. He loved John F. Kennedy. So I got the name from him.
And he was an impactful leader. And
He
you
was
can
an impactful leader.
and you can see you've also been impactful over.
Names are important, man.
Names are
very important, Nick.
Exactly. Can you tell me maybe what in your view during your tenure, what was a really big decision, a difficult decision, actually we should call it that, a difficult decision that you had to make, and how you came about with finding the solution, because you're a very solution oriented type of person.
Hey, we've had many difficult. Some we're still leaving them behind because we haven't got a solution. Because when you involve many people in discussions, it becomes very hard to be able to make certain decisions. But I can tell you a few that we have had to think through and be able to make. And even with that one, people are not still happy. Well, some are happy, some are not happy at all. But I'll tell you how we got that decision. There are a few that we have made very hard decisions. One for me, because each commissioner could have had his own challenge.
It's
one
true.
for me was during the BBI. During the BBI.
Okay.
The BBI is very hot, and MCAs are saying they want car grant. They were told, so that's the time they came. Now, that was not the first time they came for the car grant. It's not the first time. They started the issue of car grant from the previous regime. They were promised, it never happened. They went again, never happened. This new regime, they said, we want the other regime, we want car grant.
We demand it.
Did not happen. However, there was a window.
Okay.
There was a window of providing what we call a transport facilitation benefit.
Transport facilitation benefit. That's a fancy word.
That's a complicated word too.
Yeah.
Because it's not a car allowance, it's not a car grant, it's not a transport benefit. It's a transport facilitation. Make sure you have a transport to facilitate you to go and work. Now, how it's obtained, now that is
whatever kind of, as long as it is transport. Wow.
As long as it is transport.
Wow.
So what happened? We ask ourselves, this is a decision that if we make it, we will be told it's because of PBI.
Yeah.
If we don't make it, we will be told you are being unfair to the MCAs. So which decision we make? And
tough place to be.
Making such a decision, you must look at, first of all, and as I mentioned, Nick, fundamentally, we must have money. We must afford.
Yeah.
If you can't afford, please don't even talk about it.
Don't talk about it.
At this point, there was a window. We said, why don't we convert the loan? That means instead of you people getting loans, stop taking loans. We can convert that money from loans to a transport facilitation. That year.
There you go.
In the previous regime. They said, we are happy. We will do it. So we ask ourselves, is it the right decision to make? Is now the right time? If we do, what will we be thought of? If we don't, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
We ask ourselves, what is the right thing to do? Give them. And we did. That is it. So we waited for the backlash. Nothing. People could have said what they wanted to say. Some of them said it's because of BBI. That's why we made that decision. For me, it was not because of that. It was because it was the right thing to do at that time. One other decision that took time. There was a lot of, because as Nick, where we are at as a commission, we have found that people are using what we call daily subsistence allowance as an alternative source of income. DSA, alternative source of income. So what that means is that people would rather organize field trips or have meetings outside the office for a week or two, so that the money you make, at least it can compensate for your mshahara.
Yeah. Yes.
So that's something we actually agonized and said, do we reduce this? What do we do with this? How do we stop motivation? You know, in economics, if there's no demand, there will be no supply. How do we ensure that demand is not there?
It's not there.
Because if I reduce the money from, let's say, 18 to 10,000, or we say, let us give everybody and anybody, wherever you go in Kenya, we're paying you 10,000 shillings per day.
They'll stop having those meetings outside.
Nobody will go. 10,000 for what? I will stay in the office.
Exactly.
So is that the right decision to make?
Is it though?
We looked at it. And of course, there were many other stakeholders who came complaining, saying they were not getting business because people are not even going to their counties. People would only go to the cities. You go to Mombasa, and if you're in Nairobi, you go to Mombasa. If you're in Kericho, you go to Kisumu. Okay? Yeah. If you are in the only two cities then. So people will just be moving to those two cities until Nakuru became the city the other day.
Yeah.
Because Nakuru status also attracts a higher, what they call, daily subsistence allowance. So we ask ourselves, we have to make a decision that is fair for everybody, but finally fair for government, because we are spending so much money.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if we have a meeting, if we have a 2-day meeting in Mombasa, Nick? What we'll do, 2-day meeting, and that is on, assuming it is on Tuesday and Wednesday. What will happen? You will take Monday travel day.
Travel, of course.
And Thursday travel day.
Travel back.
Those are 4 days.
It's 4 days.
Isn't it?
Yes.
So I'll pay you 4 days.
Yes.
I will make sure your car is fueled, because your car, some of our people, the cars go in advance to wait for them there.
Absolutely.
I will make sure that I'm paying flight tickets. And then ground logistics, the car goes to somebody else.
I mean.
So you can see all those things. And we're saying, no. If it's about the city, we need to stop that. The decision we are going to make is this: that the DSA will be the same. It doesn't matter which city you go to.
Wow.
Now, that helped in 2 ways. Cut down on travel costs, long distance travel costs. Of course, that comes with safety, comes with fuel consumption, comes with all those things.
Perks,
so we cut down those travel costs. And then at the same time, we allow, as an offshoot of the decision, it was not the intended, but as an offshoot of the decision, every county can have an opportunity of people going there. You understand?
There you go.
So it was hard in the sense we were not sure: do we reduce? Do we add? Do we normalize? Do we ensure that it's the same across the country? But finally, we said, you know what? We will make it.
You'll make it.
Yet some people came and told me that decision was not very good. Why did you do that? I always say decisions are two-way. There's always a left side, there's always a right side. In economics, we have got the left-handed economist and the right-handed economist. We always say, on one hand, and then we always say, on the other hand. It always means you never find, you must have a balance somewhere along the, there must be a balance. One has to win at the end of the day. Both of them cannot win at the same time.
You got to do the right thing.
That has been hard.
I can imagine.
But the other one, which is ongoing, which is very tough, is it's what you call the giving a car grant to public servants, to state officers.
To state officers.
It's very difficult. You see, MPs, because they are on service, they must be given, they must have transport because they're representing people. Fair enough. They must have a way of reaching, not reaching, by the way, of coming. You see, they were voted where they live. You understand? And MP is voted where they live. So we must facilitate them to come to work. What is work? They come to Parliament. That's where they work.
Okay.
So we must facilitate them coming to Parliament
for the sake of their people.
For the sake of their people, so they can represent people and so that they can make legislations in Parliament.
Yes.
So that's why we must make sure that transport is provided. But that transport, you must make sure you also. It is not that they brought themselves. They were brought in by the people. So you must be able to support them to conduct their services. That's why they get what we call a car facilitation. All right? They're given money to buy the car, which they have to maintain. All right?
Okay.
Now, if you look on the other side, if you look at the CS on the other side, CS, they do nothing, but they have a GK, fully paid, fully maintained, fully fueled. They've got security person, they've got a driver.
This is true.
Now, are they doing anything different from the parliamentarians?
Are they?
They are not doing anything different. It's just that this one, they are actually in executive doing work, which of course is being legislation comes from this side. They're also doing the work. These guys are the executive implementers. Then we have legal, all right, the judiciary as they are. So the question is, why would we want to give? Why do we want to favor? If we say let's give one party car grant, why don't we give? Why should we not give everyone? State officer? Yeah. Not a few people. Because if you're giving CSPSS, you're giving judiciary, you're giving commissioners. If some people are left out, and that's why we talked about equity and fairness in the remuneration principles, then everybody must get. Now that is the current. We call it a hard ball in the hands. How is that going to be done? If you give one person, you must give everybody. Yeah. Is it necessary to give everybody? We don't think so.
But in the spirit of fairness,
right now we can't make that decision. We'll allow the next team as they come in.
That is not your problem.
to chew. Oh, it has given us headache for the last about a year. We've been looking at it, discussing it, and engaging in it, and we're saying, can we afford? What are the options? What are the easier options? People must be given transport to come to work.
Yeah.
If there are no vehicles, we must give them transport. What was the purpose of Africa grant? That must be explained and understood. If it is understood, then it must be granted in the context of what they do and the service that they provide.
Indeed. Well, to tell you, not easy decisions to make in the SRC. So, how has this role shaped you as a leader and as an individual?
I think for me, this role, because it's teamwork, it's a lot of teamwork role. This is not a decision of one, and decisions were never made for one person. It is all of us would sit and would agree. And I think that's the biggest molding that I was able to pick, that actually thinking as a team member, that was very powerful to take on board. Being able to also be open and be frank, sharing what you think, because no answer is wrong. No answer is wrong. When you're in the technical, you say you're not sure whether anybody will appreciate. Here at the level of the commission, it's not about appreciating. It's about looking for the idea in the things that you say. And sometimes it's not in the complicated words you use.
Wow.
It is just in the simple contribution that you have that actually ensures there is either a breakthrough, all right? And therefore, it's not about yourself. It's about the team.
The team.
It means you are open. It means you are able to critique without feeling guilty. You can critique an idea as you move on. So for me, I've been able to critique. I've been able to have an effective team player mentality. You know,
it's important.
I've been able to receive, what do you call it, feedback. Very difficult. Feedback is never an easy thing to receive.
It's not an easy pill to swallow.
But feedback, I've been able to receive feedback from a number of my commissioners, and that has made me a better person. I've been able to even see how our chair does how she chairs our meetings. I think I've learned a lot. We had a very good chair, very knowledgeable, and very alert. So you can imagine from 9 to 5. Alert. You know, we have meetings of 2 hours. We are told meetings more than an hour. We meet 9
and
to 5.
You're discussing figures
and policy and so forth. And the chair is alert throughout. That is something I really envied. And the skill that I saw is one of the skills I'm going to go away with from the commission.
Lovely, lovely stuff. Talking on that, on leaving, how do you hope that your time as commissioner will be remembered, both within the commission, and then just now, given all the hard decisions you've made, that the listeners are like, oh, so this guy is the one behind this and that. How would you want to remember you, John?
How I want the commission to remember me?
Yes, let's start with the commission. How would you want the commission to remember
me? As first of all, as their spiritual leader and guide.
Their spiritual leader.
Yes. I was. I would ensure that of course, chair, very neutral, should always volunteer who would want to pray for us first. And I would be the first one to volunteer. In any case, when we came on board, we had to introduce ourselves, and I told him I am an ordained minister, so I will ensure that. We take care of this commission through prayer. Yes, we take care of the commission. So for me, I'd like to be remembered as that person who, first of all, contributed greatly in terms of from the spiritual perspective.
Indeed.
Contributed greatly in terms of the interrogation and interpretation of the numbers, and gave guidance based on the numbers that we got, and provided sources of information which nobody else could have known.
Yes.
Just want to be remembered as quiet, quite thoughtful. And I would not speak too much. Well, I don't think I'm speaking too much, but I am not sure whether they will agree. But in a way, the soul of the commission, because every year I acknowledged that we have finished 1 year, and I would ensure that we have a small celebration just to thank God that 1 year is over, 2 years are over. So in a way, I could say I was more or less like the soul, in a small way, the soul of the commission that we had.
The soul of the commission.
Yes. Now, there's another question you asked about.
Now the public. Now that we've heard that you had some very tough decisions to make.
Yes.
And you made them for the greater good.
Yes.
How would you want us, the rest of us, to remember you and your contribution?
Wow, that's a tough question because we have not worked with you. So all you have seen me
is the results of
the work that we do.
Yeah.
So probably the only thing I can contribute, and not exactly directly to the question you've asked, is that as I leave the smaller part of public life into the larger public life, because what we have is a larger public life, and skills gathered in, as you've seen there, were arbitration skills, skills gathered as chairing skills of decision making, skills of team membership and team playership as we think through that. Those are skills that are now readily available for the larger public use. So wherever you will find me, wherever you can hear about me, those skills that I have developed. I also have a bias in personal finance, so you may see me in the personal finance space in terms of supporting individuals who think about investment and so forth. That's a space I will be at. And of course, having come from a background of remuneration, we know finance and remuneration. Remuneration takes a big chunk of the personal finance of individuals. So that's where you'll be able to see me, and I'll be able to guide and give
consultancy things, maybe, perhaps.
If consultants, yes. Consultants, yes.
Okay.
But again, in the areas of personal finance, in the areas of pension, the areas of capital markets, that's really my line.
I like that, especially the personal financing. Yes. A lot of people need more knowledge and more guidance.
That's true. A lot of coaching required.
A lot of coaching, exactly.
Yeah. Yes.
Now, I don't know why the time it really does fly. So we need to wrap things up. I would like you to share your final message that you would like to share with the public sector employees regarding the Commission's work during your tenure.
For me, I think we have had a very amicable relationship. Of course, a bit bumpy at the beginning, but towards the end, we have got very good feedback that we are that institution that was very level-headed, that institution that would undertake their decisions without any kind of manipulation, that institution that was hardworking, that institution that was forthright. If we tell you it is like this, it is like this. In fact, one institution came and said that we know SRC, you don't smile, you just look at us and you talk, and then at the end of the day, you even don't do what we agreed.
Wow.
I told him, but if it's not correct, we cannot do it.
You can't do it.
We can smile in the meetings, to smile here we've had, but if after the analysis we realize it's not possible, it is not possible, we cannot do it. But we just want to just appreciate the fact that there are a few institutions that have appreciated the work that we've done as a commission, and my parting shot is that as the commission enters its new phase, or as we have now new can I call it new entrants, new members who are coming on board. The spirit of the commission continues in the sense of the focus on harmonization of salaries, the ensuring that we have harmonized benefits across the country, ensuring that then we also have what we call a semblance of negotiation that does not scare the employer. The employer's government, many times we are scared of the trade unions because they are better trained than ourselves in terms of negotiation, which becomes a bit of a disadvantage. But those are areas which I think as the incoming team can be able to look at. But we are grateful for the support we have received from all the institutions. We may not have fulfilled all the desires they had, but we are grateful that they were able to understand, even if it's in a limited way, on what we do and be able to support the things that we are doing.
And you did it really well.
Thank you.
Congratulations on a great 6 years.
Thank you very much.
Big shoes to fill for the ones coming in. Mr. John Kennedy Monyoncho, MBS, final day. as Commissioner from the Salaries and Remuneration Commissioner. Your next step, we hope it's going to be even as more impactful. And
Correct.
Please make some time to come back again. We would definitely love to host you here.
If you invite me, I will come as John Kennedy Monyoncho now.
Yes, indeed.
Or with another title from another institution.
With another title from another institution. The man is in demand.
Yes.
I'm sure someone's like, hey, he's no longer there. Let's call him right now.
Yes.
This is The Big Conversation on The Breakfast Show here on KBC English Service.